Good evening and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans. I need to sit this way a bit. That's as you can see, this video is all about James Forrest and the fact that James Forrest has left the Scotland squad today. He has left the Scotland squad and there's been no major announcement whether he's got an injury or not. Is it the fact that James Forrest has maybe just had enough and went, do you know what, you're not going to play me, so what's the point of me being here when I could be back getting ready for the game for Celtic next Saturday? Anyway, let's jump into the comment section first of all. So let's jump into the comment section first of all. And Nicola McCafferty, hail everyone, it's back to normal this week. International football so boring. It is, and especially when it comes to Scotland, because they've lost 15 games in a row and the manager's still in possession. Bizarre. Stephen Johnson's in the house. Big shout out to Stephen Johnson. Sineres is in the house coming from North London. Dave Hislop's in the house saying hi to Stephen. Joseph is in the house. Hail Stephen. Hope was all good. Be safe. God bless. Wilson QW is in the house. Ian's in the house. Paul Baird's in the house. Hazel is in the house also. And Tarmac is also in the house. Lorna Gallagher's just popped in too. So, the news this afternoon broke that James Forrest had left. That was the statement. That was put out. Squad update. In. Connor Barron. Out. James Forrest. Now, James Forrest isn't the type of player to get injured in training. And if he is injured in training, it's questions need to be asked. But is it the fact that James Forrest was told that he's not going to be starting the game, is it tomorrow evening, and the Portugal game? And James Forrest will have sat and thought, do you know what? We don't know what's happening with James's career, and there's no use him sitting about the squad hotel, sitting about if he's not going to get a game tomorrow night and he's not going to be on the bench. Do you know, he'd be as well just going, but why am I here? I'm going to go back and I'm going to go back to training with Celtic tomorrow. And maybe there has to be something in it, because he was taken away in the Euros and he was unused the full Euros in the summer. He was unused again against Croatia. And James is bound to be thinking, I could do with the rest just to keep my... Do you know, it's all fine coming here and I would never turn down my country. But Steve Clarke, I would just turn around and say, look, Gaffer, if you're not going to play me, I'm just going to go back and go... And then Steve Clarke would go, well, okay, James, but that might have an adverse effect on future Scotland games. Steve Clarke, I don't think you've got many Scotland games left in you, to be honest. I don't like talking about Scotland on this channel, but when it's a Celtic player that is involved, so I think it's an interesting one, and hopefully we'll find out over the next couple of days whether he has been injured in training, which I think is highly unlikely, because James... I think you could count on one hand how many times James has been out injured over his 15-year career. There's not been many times that you can think of. He's been out the squad due to other players being in, and he's been on the bench and stuff, but he's not really had any serious injuries. And the fact that he's not been playing this season, he's been coming on as a sub. His form kicked off at the beginning of the season where it left off last season. And I've just got a funny feeling that he's turned around to Clarke and went, do you know what? I'm going to sack it, Gaffer, and I'm going to go back to training with Celtic tomorrow. Simple as that. I'm not coming here to sit in the stand and watch Scotland. Thanks, but no thanks. And maybe that's it. But then again, maybe Brendan Rodgers will clarify the situation on a Friday when he does the interview, the presser, on Friday afternoon. Paradise Found is in the house. Keith is in the house. Keith Robertson. Hey, Baz. How's the wee dog of yours? It's absolutely fine. Running about somewhere. Sleeping on the couch. Bed. Sleeping on the bed. Even better. Sleeping on the bed. Clarke has about as much personality as a slug. Yeah, I've tried to watch as much as the Scotland content as I've could today to try and see if Clarke would talk about the fact that James Forrest left the squad. I mean, a player of James Forrest's calibre leaving the Scotland squad the day before a game, you would think that the manager would turn around and say, he would say, look, we've got injuries. but he never done that today. He's spoken about players that are out injured. Like he's obviously on about, like say, Tierney and Andy Robertson and stuff. I think they're both injured. I couldn't even tell you. But I know that Kieran Tierney's obviously still recovering, and he's bemoaning that fact. He has bemoaning that fact. But I just wonder what the future holds for James Forrest, especially since he's entering his last year, the last year of his contract with Celtic, and the fact that he's not been getting a game for Scotland. So anyway, that was the update that the Scotland national team put out this afternoon, and that was it. No explanation, no nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing whatsoever. Unbelievable. And it just tells you everything that you need to know about the current Scotland setup. Anyway, in other news, before we do some other Celtic news this evening, jump back into the comments and say hello to people. Jamesy Boy is in the house. Paul Baird is in the house. He hopes that James Forrest has helped Clark to get to... I hope so also. Because if he's not going to play him, why pick him? Do you know, he's a fantastic asset to anybody. I mean, even at this late stage in his career, I mean, James Forrest could walk down to any team in England and get a game quite easily. Maybe not the English Premiership, but the league down they could. And I just think that Steve Clarke has got something against Jamesy Forrest. He's not really wee, is he anymore? Jamesy Forrest. But anyway, hopefully he has told Clarke, look, I'm not going to come here. If I'm going to be on the bench tomorrow night and I'm going to be an unused sub against Portugal, I'd be as well sitting in the house watching it on the telly, and then I can go into training with Celtic the very next day. You know, I've not done anything. I've been away with Scotland. I've not played any games. I've trained as normal, and I just want to go and focus. And maybe this will be the end. This will be the end of James Forrest's Scotland career. A bit like Callum McGregor. At least Callum McGregor just went, look, boss, I'm just going to retire. Maybe it'll come out this week that James Forrest will turn around and say, that's me, I'm done with international football. But anyway, hopefully we'll find out something before the end of the week. Paradise Found is in the house. Evening, Stephen. Hope you're good. Tam Mack saying hi to Stephen Johnson. Nicola McCafferty saying hi everyone, and big Stevie Johnston. Kaiser's in the house. Lorna Gallagher, Jim F. Tam Mack. Steve Clarke is a complete earth. He is that. And make it out like he dropped a Tim and invited a Hun. Yeah, is that really what it is? I'm not even taking it as that. I'm taking it that James Forrest, unless he's been injured, I think that James Forrest, I mean, Conor Barron will be happy enough just to sit, just to say, we're in the Scotland squad. But I think James Forrest, he's big enough and ugly enough, and he knows the game enough to go, do you know what? Fuck this pish. Do you know what I mean? It's like, nah, bugger this, man. I could be home sitting with the missus and whatever. I mean, James keeps his personal life really private, so hopefully we'll find out one way or another. And that was Kaiser that said that. All good here. Luke Graham's in the house. Hail Michael Ross. Kaiser not playing a player whose middle name is Celtic. Well done, Jamesy. Get ready for the sheeple, said Tam. Exactly. And I hope that is what it is. I hope it is that James Forrest has just went, do you know what? I'm going to go and get ready for the game this weekend. I don't need this. I don't really need to be sitting about the hotel tonight if I'm not going to get picked for the team. Because Steve Clarke would have told the team the starting 11 at training this afternoon, or this morning when this was put out. And he would have told the players the day before who were going to be playing. Because that's the way that Clarkey does stuff. And I never said James Forrest was ugly. I said he was the wee. I never said he was ugly. Scotland needed a player like James Forrest at the Euros. They did, but they never played him. So anyway, Hellmend Clark. And you've got to remember, Stevie Clarke is a manager. And in 2019, when he was linked with the Celtic job, he was linked with the Celtic job in 2019. And at the end of the season, he finished up at Kilmarnock above the Sevconians and stood in the middle of the park and went, bye-bye Rangers, and then went to the Scotland job. And I don't think that, nobody really knows if he was offered the job or not, the Celtic job. I don't think he was, to be honest. Baz, shocking way to handle a player like James Forrest. Look, Clark is a Tim from Ayrshire. Clark's not one of us. Just stop that nonsense. He is not one of us. He might be a Tim from Ayrshire, but he is not one of us. He never has been and he never will be. And I think that's one of the reasons that he never took the Celtic job, because he doesn't want pinholed into that. But anyway, I'm glad he never took the Celtic job, because we ended up where we are today, with Brendan Rodgers back. I think he'll keep Rio for the Champions League. Talking about the Champions League, we're not even thinking about the Champions League. Somebody said in the comments actually that the Champions League game next week is the biggest game this week, but that's next week. I was going to reply to it, but I thought, do you know what? It's not even this week. You know, the Aberdeen game's this week. The other game is next week. Oh dear, there's some of the comments. I never read a lot of the comments on unless it's the lives, and I go in and I read the ones who are members. But anyway, there was other news that came out of Celtic this afternoon. I will remember the hurrah, the scramble to get Kieran Tierney back from the picture from Friday night. Well, Celtic today put out what actually happened on Friday night and the little Tory fest. It can only be called a Tory fest. I'm going to call it a Tory fest because it is exactly what it was. It was a Tory fest for Celtic and their Tory supporters. Yep, it was a Tory fest down in London. But the Tory Celtic supporter club in London netted in the region of £420,000 in its 6th annual fundraising gala in London on Friday night. Over 130 guests were in attendance, including former Celtic managers, Brendan Rodgers. Who writes this stuff? Because Brendan Rodgers is the current Celtic manager. This is it said on the Celtic website. It goes, over 130 guests were in attendance, including the current and former Celtic manager Brendan Rodgers and Martin O'Neill, in this intimate gathering at the stunning Four Seasons Hotel in the London at Tower Bridge. The Four Seasons Hotel, London at Tower Bridge. Fucking spiffing, wasn't it? It's one of those events. Well done, Brendan. Celtic icon Chris Sutton, and a lifelong Celtic fan and former TV broadcaster Bernard Ponsonby. Bernard Ponsonby. They should have just called it the Tory Celtic get together, shouldn't they? They should have just called it the Celtic evening. John, how are you? I need to go through the rest of this before I jump back into the comments. But anyway, Bernard Ponsonby were co-hosts with Chris Sutton for the evening. They're also joined by former Celts Roy Aitken, still in Petrov, Kieran Tierney, as well as the one and only Sir Rod Stewart. Hi. Oh, you cracker. Oh, it cracks me up. Talking about Rod Stewart, hopefully I'll have a Rod Stewart lookalike on the channel this weekend, so keep an eye out for that one. The evening kicked off with a video of a piece featuring the work that the foundation does, followed by a vote of thanks from Chief Executive Tony Hamilton. Bernard Ponsonby invited Celtic manager Brendan Rodgers to join him on stage for a Q&A, which he was shared standout memories from his managerial career, his hopes and his ambitions for the future. Why was there none of that released on a phone? Why was there nobody there? Why was there no wee Ned up the back with a phone going, I got you saying that. Next up was stunning set from Tony Headley, former Spurs Spandau Ballet, who entertained the room with some of his classic hits in his all distinctive style. Throughout the meal, guests were also treated to live music from the fantastic troubadours, who made their way around the table, providing their own unique brand of entertainment. After the dessert, Chris Sutton welcomed the former manager Martin O'Neill to the stage as he spoke to guests and stories about his tenure at the club. Just before the live auction, the Celtic FC Foundation project participant Liam Kenny shared a very powerful and emotional journey, the huge impact that the foundation has made in his life. And the reason I am talking about this is we are trying to promote as much the Celtic Foundation as possible on this channel, even though they have Tory nights down in London. The live auction contained a total of 8 outstanding prizes. These were complemented by a further 22 in a silent auction. The formal proceedings were then rounded off by a live set from Johnny Mac and the Faithful. Oh, it's just one of those cracking nights, isn't it? Yeah, there was no ooh, ah, up the rad in it that night, was there? And the boys of the old brigade, where are the lads that... Yeah, you can't sing that down here, sonny boy. The funds raised will support a variety of foundation initiatives, including Paradise Pit Stop in Glasgow, community games in both London and Ireland. Tony Hamilton of the Celtic FC Foundation and Chief Executive said, "Our 6th event in London was another incredible night, not just for raising funds for the future initiatives, but showcasing the impact the foundation in London and Glasgow and further afield. The phenomenal amount raised reflects the generosity of everyone in the room, including sponsors Danny O'Neill and Radisson Red of Glasgow." That's the hotel group. We would like to thank the table holders and guests at Brendan Rodgers, Martin O'Neill, Sir Rod Stewart, Roy Aiken, Stillian Petrov, Kieran Tierney, and to all those who donated prizes for the auction and the gifts and gift bags. But yeah, there we go. That's that. You can register there for the 2025 London Gala Dinner. You can register now. CFC Foundation at celticfc.co.uk. So if you're interested and you want to go down next year, it'll probably cost you an arm and a leg. Bernard Ponsonby, Jesus God, there's just nothing Celtic about that night at all, really, is there? And it's hardly like a supporters club night, where they're all getting tanked up and he'll be, they maybe raise about 1,200 quid or something. It's nuts, isn't it? It is nuts. Anyway, we move on. Stephen says, "I don't think having any interfere in Scotland and Europe as far as training for next year. If you go the way the fans demand." Michael Ross says, "Let's say no more KT shite." James Quinn's going for 4-0 with the Sheep, even though we're not even talking about that. Get the road the prod Paradise. That's a get together since Gank. It's not really it's not a rebel night or a Celtic supporters club night, is it? That you have down the local social club. This is big league stuff, and you've got to. You know, they've raised a fantastic amount of money, 400 grand. You're not going to raise that on a GoFund page with everybody doing the schemes, are we? Let's be honest. So it is good for the Celtic Foundation. And I'm glad that they like to rub shoulders with people at the Tower of London Hotel. Anyway, we move on. Quickly. I don't know what he's talking about, Steve Clark. Talk about Aberdeen. Yes, because it is Aberdeen this weekend, and we all hope that not a chance, that says Paul Verd. No. Mick Bernard in the series on match days, Baz. That's all good. But I'm just on the type of event it was. It was a black tie event, so anyway. A guy for Spandau Ballet singing "Gold" to Peter Lawwell must have been an absolute scream, eh, Kaiser? Gold! Fucking Peter Lawwell's like that, sitting at the table, just counting up the cash, sitting with one of the machines. counting up the notes like a drug dealer. Anyway, brilliant, Kaiser. That was a cracking song. Steve Bernard at Celtic Games is a good Tim. Yeah, he might be a good Tim, but I think, don't know. It was done in Tory Central land, so I'm not disputing the fact that any of them that weren't there were good Celtic supporters. And we're a club open to all, so you can have the odd Tory at these events. So I'm not a Tory. I'm not a Labour man. It's a working class geezer. Son of a miner. And that kind of nonsense is so far from anything that I would ever be near in my lifetime. And anyway, we move on. We digress. We're surprised the Crankies were there. Oh, Jesus. Predictions for the game at the weekend. It's only Monday night. We're not going to talk about predictions for the game this weekend. We've got enough time to do that this week. Make sure that you give the video a thumbs up, because there's only 33 thumbs up. There's been over 350 people on the video so far. Anyway, it is just going to be a half-hour one tonight. I think because it's there's not a lot of content kicking around. Where is that? I've lost the story I was looking at. Aberdeen. Two seconds. How the hell was it? No idea. Anyway, it was about Chris Sutton talking about, I'll get it for tomorrow morning's video. It was a podcast that Chris Sutton was on talking about the Aberdeen game and if Aberdeen are serious contenders. And so once I find the podcast, I'll get it ready for tomorrow morning's video. Anyway, disappointed Celtic Dons not being televised. Why Celtic mad? And why are you upset about the fact that it's not televised? I think it's admirable that it wasn't originally scheduled to be televised. I think it will be on Celtic TV, so you got it on your Fire Stick. It wasn't a game that was originally going to be televised. I don't think when these came out and the TV stations looked at it, they thought there's not. Let's be honest. Back in late July, early August, when they were looking at these fixtures, they never thought Aberdeen were going to be sitting joint top. So they never thought, well, let's televise that game. And if they did televise it, it would mean that people that go to the games would be put out once more. They would either have to go early on a Saturday, which means a lot of people wouldn't manage to make it. And look, people complain about empty seats at Celtic Park because people aren't at the games because they need to work, because of the games are suited for TV. So you can't have it both ways. We can't have it where a game, a top of the table clash on a Saturday at 3 o'clock doesn't come along too often. So I think that Celtic should be absolutely commended for the fact that they're not. It's 75 grand. 75 grand, that's all they get paid for that game, which is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And Celtic don't need the 75 grand. Celtic will make more than the 75 grand in the sports bar. and merchandise and stuff, you know what I mean? So it'll make much more on a match day than 75 grand. So for me, I'm glad that it's not on Celtic TV and not on normal telly. It will be on Celtic TV, which is, you can say what you like about Celtic TV. There's the dog back in. Oh, yeah. That last hot knife just hit Baz. What? Don't think so. The game will be on Celtic TV, says Joseph. Yes, Andrew says should have got kneecap to play the foundation. Oh my God, that would have been a scream and a laugh. Guy standing with a balaclava on and Chris Sutton gone. Oh, that would have been an absolute scream if that happened. Anyway, we're only staying on for 25 minutes or so tonight. There's not a lot of news going around apart from the fact that James Forrest is dropped out of the Scotland squad. The Scotland squad just put out squad update. No other information, just squad update. Connor Barron in, James Forrest out. And that's it. Steve Clarke didn't even mention it at his press conference today, which I think, for me, is a little bit what's going on. Anyway, tomorrow night we'll talk about the... what, is it raining?
Torrential rain.
Is it? Wow.
Just rescued one sun lounger.
Wow, we've got rain.
And it's howling wind.
That's alright. We have rain. Hallelujah. God, when was the last time it rained? About a month ago. Anyway, Sheep's defence is shite. 4-0. Michael Ross is gone. Fair enough. That's wild out there, Right, I'm done and dusted for this evening. Not heard the term hot knife since the 1990s. So much did I enjoy them. My lungs needed a break these days. Jesus. The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plane. No, it doesn't. Anyway, have a fantastic evening, Celtic fans. I will be around tomorrow morning. It looks like it will be a pre-recorded video tomorrow morning because I need to be down. I need to do about a half-hour trip down the motorway to go and see to do some work, to be honest, and I won't be able to do the live at the time that I normally do the live. Anyway, on that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans. Yes, you, for staying around and watching. Staying around and watching this time of night on a Monday night when there's not really a lot to talk about apart from